Hey, what's going on, guys? It's CJ here. Doing a bit of a quick thoughts on X-Men Dark Phoenix. I just came out of a press screener a couple of hours ago, and this is not a review. Just wanted to lay my thoughts out there on this film, and just kind of just put what's kind of going through my head. And I guess one of the first things that kind of comes through my head with this is I never understood the logic of trying to think that you could do a Dark Phoenix story in one movie and think that's going to work. Um, I know initially they were trying to do a two-parter that probably would have fared a little bit better, but one of the biggest things about the Dark Phoenix storyline or the Phoenix storyline period is that you knew of Jean Grey as a character up to in the comics up until that storyline point. You were seeing her relationship with the different team, her team members and stuff, with Scott, with Rogue, with Storm, Wolverine, and all that stuff. And you saw those relationships. You saw her as a character. You got to know her as a character, so that when she did get imbued with the Phoenix powers, you were sympathetic to what's going to happen to her and stuff. You were locked in on who she was and what's going to happen to her, and the plight of what ended up happening to her as a character in that whole saga. The problem with this film is that one, it's an hour and 40 minutes, so it's not a lot of time to really really kind of just meander. They have to get straight to the point on these things. Two, with that hour and 40, you also have to keep in mind that when it comes to this action franchise, this is really Jean Grey's second movie. She first came out in um, X Men Apocalypse. And the problem with the X Men Apocalypse, besides it being a bad movie, is that you didn't really get much of an idea of who Jean Grey was as a person. She got a little introduction, she had a little banter with Scott, but just ultimately you didn't care about the character and what she was about. So when you get into this film, the film tries to do this thing where we're supposed to just jump straight into Jean having a relationship with Scott and just who she was as a person, but I, as a movie audience goer, doesn't know, and I have to fit those pieces together and stuff. Excuse me, I'm a little sick. Um, and that's inherently in a nutshell is that that's been the overarching issue of this X Men franchise is that they have these ideas of doing these stories, but the execution hasn't necessarily been there. Despite this movie being very average, it also has moments where you're just like, all right, that's nice, that's actually pretty cool, but those moments are very few and far between, and you just get a very average movie where you just don't care about anything. I mean, hell, the bad guys in this movie who are led by Jessica Chastain, they aren't interesting. I mean, let's think about this for a second. When you look at bad guys, right? Let's look at Avengers 1, for instance, right? You had Loki as the main bad guy, and he had Chitari grunts as background. Now, you didn't necessarily need to know anything about the Chitari other than, hey, Thanos loaned them out to Loki to wreak havoc, and that's it. But your main bad guy for Avengers was Loki, and you got to know a little bit more about Loki and what makes him tick and those things like that. I'll even take it a step further. You go to let's go Ant Man. Let's go Ant Man with Damien Darren Cross. And him being, the Yellow Jacket and stuff. You understood who he was as a character, and I'm not gonna say you cared about what happened to him, but you still understood his bad guy plight. The problem in Dark Phoenix is that you don't care about this alien race. They're just there. There's nothing inherently unique about them other than them being not Skrulls. Um, it's just there's nothing unique. They got a power set, but there's no like, hey, what's their power set? What can they do and what they can't do? And again, that's another problem with this film. The villain is just pretty much non-existent. Jessica Chastain's there. She has powers, but like, you don't know what it is. And like I said, that's the film in a nutshell. Ideas, but the execution is shit. And I'm not saying this movie is horrible. It's better than Apocalypse and stuff. Very average, but at the end of the day, it just goes. The movie just ends on a just underwhelming note, and it's unfortunate because this is a movie franchise that's been what it was in a nutshell. Just very underwhelming moments and stuff, spiced between good ideas and such. So, if you really are the type of person that's been liking this franchise, more power to you. Cool. Me personally and stuff, I like for X-Men First Class, despite the Darwin hiccup. But like I said before, that's been indicative of this whole franchise in a nutshell, is that it means well on certain ideas that they have, but they just don't know how to execute it properly. And that's the unfortunate side effect with the Dark Phoenix movie, is that you just really don't care about the bad guys. You don't care about Jean Grey. You don't care about the plot. I mean, hell, the characters like Mystique. You're talking about a character that started with Rebecca Romaine Stamos, and then Jennifer Lawrence got her in First Class, and it felt like, you know, if you know about the background information with that film, is that Jennifer Lawrence didn't like the makeup, and it just, the makeup for her just got progressively just downgrade after downgrade, to where you get to this movie and it's like, that's Mystique? Yeah. You know, I guess another issue is the whole aspect of the X-Men are treated like superheroes instead of these group of people that are dealing with the backlash from people that don't like mutants. And you don't get that in this film much, and when you do get it, it's coming from out of a place of what came before with Jean Grey and those powers and such. And you know, again, that's the franchise in a nutshell. They have all these ideas, but the execution is just utter shit. And that's Dark Phoenix in a nutshell. And like I said, sorry again, I'm just on the weather here, but you know, like I said, I had my jokes come out of the theater, but it's just I came out that movie just kind of like shrugged, that happened, whatever. And yeah, so you know, I don't want to go too much into it. Like I said, we got our review, drops Wednesday, but this is just kind of just my thoughts and stuff. I just wanted to just put it out there. So feel free to comment on the video, and yeah, that's it. Peace out, guys.